Hello, buddy. Omni here. We finally have episode 2 of season 8 of Game of Thrones. And if you haven't caught up on either last week's episode or this week's, tune out now because I'm going to be jumping into spoilers with a recap of season 8, episode 2 that aired tonight. So it picks up where the last episode left off with Jaime arriving, and it really just kicks up right off the bat with having him confronting the leadership of Winterfell. At this time, he's with Bran, Sansa, Dany, and Jon, all kind of passing judgment on him, while Dany gives like a little spiel about, the conversations her and her brother used to have about what would happen if they had the killer of her father in their midst. And, you can definitely tell there's a little bit of a struggle and emotion tied to that still, even though she knows and has come to terms with, that her father wasn't the best of dudes, but definitely understandable. It completely turns around, and Tyrion, despite not being in the best of graces with Dany, defends her brother, and even more so now that he told her to trust in Cersei, sending her armies to protect her baby. Not only did he lose 2 battles, he also believed his sister. And all they got as far as the Lannister army is Jaime. And it was not at her behest. It was on his own accord, which is where he kind of wins a lot of major points here. He realistically would have nothing to gain from coming up there by himself, especially if he's bringing the bad news that they're not coming. Brienne steps in and vouches wholeheartedly for Jaime, which is awesome. And Sansa, trusting Brienne with her life, sides with her on Jaime and accepts him in. Dany giving the final word to Jon. Jon being completely okay with being like, yeah, you know what? Every living person that's here to fight, we need all of them. So Dany, against her better judgment and emotions, concedes to the judgment of her peers and, allows Jaime into their fight. From here, there's a lot of noticeable tension, especially with Dany kind of being at odds or being in the opposite zone or feeling as far as everybody else in the room. You can definitely kind of tell that not everyone is kind of feeling her side right here, at least the Northerners. Everybody that she's here to support still, like the Starks, Jon, the other houses of the North, still don't trust her, and you could tell that she's like the odd man out here in this case. And then after what we learned, or what Jon learned, we already knew. After what Jon learned about himself and his lineage, he avoids Dany throughout this episode and really gives her the cold shoulder until later. From that meeting, we turn over to Arya, who hard flexes on Gendry after checking him out at the forge and be like, yo, bruh, where's my weapon? And he's, talking about how, I've got thousands of weapons to make. I can't be making your little special priority little case here. And then she ninja stars some dragon glass at a nearby post, which freaks out some dude, which is kind of hilarious, seeing his reactions and then like slowly getting up and walking away. Gendry, impressed by this, was like, oh no, oh crap. I'll build your weapon. Don't you worry. Don't hurt me. Don't get upset. We get a lot of mentions to the crypt, people going to housing in the crypt when the battle comes. About 5 or 6 times this comes out through the episode. It was like, you need to stay in the crypt. The crypt's going to be the safest place. I get a feeling something's going to happen to the crypt, and it won't be very good. We have a nice little reunion between Jaime and Bran in the Godswood. And they have a little, Jaime's like, why didn't you tell him about what I did? You didn't you didn't turn me away or talk against me or anything with what I've done to you. And Bran makes a couple of good points. Neither of them would have made these journeys if it wasn't for what he did. Jaime wouldn't be on this path to redemption if he didn't push Bran out that window and start this chain of events. Bran wouldn't be the three-eyed raven, and they wouldn't be able to use his abilities to prepare for this fight to be where they are. And on top of that, if he, like he says, if he had revealed what Jaime had done indeed to him, there's a good chance they would have executed him, and they need him for the fight. So good point. Good job, Bran. You did it good. Tyrion has a nice little conversation with Jaime. We cut to a scene where Jaime and them are discussing, their past and stuff like that, where Tyrion had imagined himself in his later years. Jaime sees Brienne off training some soldiers with Podrick. He goes down to talk to her. We see Podrick is actually training some of the new soldiers and stuff, which is a step up for how he's been the trainee for so long with Brienne. And we have this nice tender little moment where Jaime is basically showing his respect to Brienne, which is awesome. And he talks about how he is not the best fighter anymore, but he would be honored to serve under her command. And Brienne she doesn't know how to take this. Last time she actually met with him, he was still being snarky, kind of quippy old Jaime. But Jaime has really humbled himself here and is making a full turn towards being just awesome. Jaime has a lot of solid, great moments in this episode. We have Jorah meeting with Dany to kind of talking to some reason into her to forgive Tyrion that, people make mistakes. He's made mistakes even more so than Tyrion, and vouches for her to give him another chance, because despite his distaste for Tyrion long ago, he does have a level-headed mind and he learns from his mistakes. Good point. Good job, Jorah. Sansa and Dany talk about the not so great introduction they had in the first episode. They kind of talk about how they're two powerful women that get underestimated and all this jazz. And, they kind of start to bond with the weirdness their families have had to put up with until, Sansa lays it on and was like, we had this land taken from us. So what happens after this? What happens to the North after this? We had our land taken from us and we took it back, and we told ourselves we would not kneel to outside rule. And that instantly brings the tension right back between the two. They started to come eye to eye, and then Sansa stood her ground, and Dany is just getting pushed to the sidelines more and more the longer she's in the North. It just seems like. Theon arrives to Winterfell and tells them that he rescued Yara, and she's sailing for the Iron Islands to prepare it in case they need to retreat. Another stab against Dany here when he says that he's come to fight for the Winterfell and for the Starks. You can definitely see Dany's reaction to that when she's yet another person that had been fighting for her is here now vouching for the Starks, for other people, the people that she doesn't have a lot of faith in herself. From there, Jon reunites with Ed, Beric, and Tormund, who make their way back to Winterfell. Tormund just tackling Jon, and they deliver the bad news that the Umbers have joined the army of the dead, and that the army will be upon them by the next morning. From there, we have an awesome war room meeting where they're plotting out their strategy. We get to see the battle plans and how they plan on fortifying and splitting up their forces to head against the Night King and his army. Bran reveals that he believes the Night King will be going straight for him. The Night King, according to Bran, wants to snuff out life. What is death but the forgetting of all memory, things ceasing to be. And if there's a memory of something, which Bran is the memory of Westeros, he would be coming for him. He's got him marked so the Night King knows where he is always. So Bran tells them he will be used for bait. He will lure the Night King out because he will come for him. Theon, in another turn of character and great moment at redemption, offers to have him and his Ironborn stand guard with Bran and protect him at the Godswood. Great little moment, great stuff there. Again, the meeting ends with Jon giving Dany the cold shoulder as he exits. Tyrion stays behind to talk with Bran to learn his story, so might be some playing up that might go between there. Bran might say some stuff to Tyrion that might come up later, assuming they live. We have a Grey Worm discussing his future with Missandei if Dany takes the throne and they all survive. And we cut back to Jon, Ed, and Sam talking about what it was like, how they're the last ones left of their original watch from the Night's Watch. And just in the background, no reference, no anything, is just Ghost. Ghost is just there. And a lot of people, myself included, for a long time have been like, man, where's Ghost? We haven't seen Ghost in a long time. And there's videos about it. There's comment threads about it. Where the heck is Ghost? And Ghost just shows up, doesn't howl, doesn't bark, doesn't do anything, is just there in the back of a scene, never acknowledged, never talked to, never petted or anything. So it just begs the question, where was Ghost? So my best theory is that Ghost has actually always been there, but slightly off of camera. He's actually been in every scene, just out of frame. I have no other explanation for what has been going on with the Ghost. What I'm going to call the fireplace gang, we have a couple of tender scenes between, it starts with Jaime and Tyrion reminiscing about how they've ended up fighting for the Starks and all of this. And then they're later joined by Podrick, Brienne, Davos, and Tormund, and it gets awesome. But before we get to that, we get a lovely flex from Tormund where he talks about, he's basically measuring dicks with Jaime because of how Brienne is reacting to both of them differently. So he tries to do this hard flex. He's like, you know what? I hear they call you Kingslayer. Do you know what they call me? Giant's Bane. You want to know why? I once killed a giant when I was 10. And then I snuck into his wife's bed and she thought I was his baby. So I suckled at her teat for 3 months. Giant's milk is why I'm strong. Tormund is just comedy gold in this show. I love it. It's so weird and awesome. We cut away from that. We get a short, quick scene with the Arya reuniting with the Hound, asking why he's there. He never fights for anyone but himself. We get a nice little line where he's like, I fought for you, didn't I? Which is what we all thought. Like, you know, he's not the type to be sentimental, but he obviously cared for her. He protected her. He got her through all of that. And I find it weird that she just doesn't acknowledge it. Maybe she does now, but in her own kind of cold, snarky way, she just kind of dips out and pieces out on that note once Beric joins the little reunion up there. We cut back to Arya down in either the forge or the crypts or the storage room, something, practicing some archery, when Gendry brings her custom weapon. And I speculated this in the last video, I think. I'm pretty sure I put it in there. But, you know, she trained with the Faceless Men. They mostly practice with staves and stuff like that, staves. And I figured she would try to incorporate that with blades, with dragon glass and the Valyrian steel dagger. I thought she was going to convert the dagger put the dagger on one end of this staff and then have a dragon glass tip made for the other end. But nope, we just get a staff with 2 dragon glass blades on each end to which she practices with. And with it being their last night, all that heated sexual tension between her and Gendry, she straight up uses her faceless game, her like faceless man game, where they tell the lies and they try to deceive the other person. She plays the game of faces with Gendry to basically learn about his sex life and whether or not he would be a good first partner. And then once she gets the information she does, she just straight goes in for the kill and gets her some Gendry. I can't not say, I have to say that was awkward. I know she's grown up. I know she's like older and this is about that time, but my Lord, that was the most awkward scene I think I've ever seen. And because I think it has to mostly deal with, we've seen her since she was so little. And that was not a side of her I ever wanted to see on screen. All power to her, but my Lord. After that, we cut back to the Fireplace Gang. They discuss all the battles that they've survived and how they've lucked out so much over the years. Definitely think a lot of these people, if not all of them, might die in this next episode. However, we get this awesome tender moment where Brienne gets knighted by Jaime, and her reaction to that is just freaking beautiful. I love everything about this scene. We cut over to Leona Mormont having a discussion, a firm talking to with Jorah, where he's trying to convince her to stay in the crypt because she's the last surviving heir of their name. But she stands her ground as she does the feisty little thing, and she's going to stand by her word and fight. I freaking love Lyanna Mormont. If you don't, get out. Sam then shows up, gives Heartsbane to Jorah, showing further respect for Jorah and his admiration for him, especially for his father, who, ran the Night's Watch, taught him everything he knew. And Jorah accepts the sword and offers to wield it in the name of Sam's father, despite what happened with Dany and that in their previous battle or engagement, especially when she had to reveal to Sam. This had to be difficult, where he's giving the sword over to Dave, basically one of her primary knights or guards, and after just learning she burned his father and his brother, but he still trusts and respects Jorah so much, and that turns out here. We return back again to the Fireplace Gang, who is running out of wine. They end the night with Podrick singing. When we get a montage of everybody else and what they're doing at this moment in Winterfell, we get Sansa having a nice little soup dinner, reunited with Theon, having a nice tender little moment. We cut back to the bed of awkwardness, where Arya is staring slightly off camera while Gendry is asleep, both in the nude after their midnight activities. Either just in anticipation of the battle to come, knowing dangers around the corner, or maybe just Gendry wasn't that great. Who knows? But then Grey Worm joins into the formation. We have a cutaway to Jon and Dany in the crypts, where he tells her what he has learned about herself. And again, Dany gives the most intense impression that she's going to do something stupid, something backhanded, something nefarious, all in quest of her power, her journey and her whole life's purpose. And this will be a turning point, I think, with her character, whether she'll actually be true to her goodwill towards the people and towards what's right and towards justice, or her quest for power and her own personal quest. Because she's like, the way she ends that, she's like, and you think it's not weird that this came from just your brother and Sam and your best friend? Huh. Be funny if something happened to them. She didn't say that, but that's the impression that I got. Basically confirming that she's very much aware that they're the only two that know about that truth, about Jon's truth. And then she ends it on that just means that you're another person with a claim to the throne. And she doesn't like it. Dany is going to do something. She's going to stab somebody in the back in this next episode. And then after this, we get the tension of that scene is interrupted by a horn blow and the dead arriving on the distance of Winterfell itself. And the battle is set and slated and ready to begin in the next episode. A lot of reunions, a lot of setup, a lot more slow paced episode. It makes sense. We got a lot of character, a lot of time with these first two episodes. I think we're going to lose a lot of people in this third episode. A couple theories and predictions I have. I think Dany, in the midst of all of this, might try to take advantage and either turn or take out Bran or Sam, because the only people that can back Jon's claim is the people that have the information that Jon has. If she takes them out, I definitely think she'll make a power play like that to discredit him and his claim. So I see something like that happening, either with the dragons or I imagine it'll be with the dragons, because what I imagine would happen, what I imagine is going to happen at some point, the way that Dany knows Jon is telling the truth is, I guarantee in one way or another, either the dragons she's going to try to get the dragons to kill Jon or kill someone Jon cares about. Jon will, if it's Jon himself, or he'll in the way of the dragons that will be attacking someone else. Like, say she has the dragons go after Bran or Sam, Jon steps in And we're going to have a moment. This is my prediction. We're going to have a moment where the dragons, she gives the command, but they don't do anything. They don't attack Jon. They stand down and refuse to attack him. I think that'll be the thing that convinces Dany that Jon is a true, in fact, Targaryen. We already know that the dragons have taken to him. Drogon and Rhaegal have both taken him. He's ridden Rhaegal. With exception, Drogon has let him pet him, which he has not allowed many, if not anyone other than Dany to do, especially Drogon, the temperamental one. I think that's going to be one of the ways that it is clear in her head that she's not going to be able to use her dragons to get him away. I know Jon's been burned before in the past, like when he killed the first White Walker that showed up in Castle Black. He was burned by the lantern that he ignited them with. So I don't think we'll go a route. Unless they kind of retcon that or forget about that. And, Jon's just immune to the dragon fire. I don't think that'll be the way. I think the dragons will just stand down, and that'll be the conclusive sign to Dany that he's telling the truth. But I do think she's going to try to do something like that to force her own claim at this point, despite what she's learned about Jon. I think there's been a lot of foreshadowing about whether or not Dany is going to stand towards the truth or stand towards her truth, towards her claim, and take the selfish route, because that's all she's known in this life is that goal. And I think we're at a point where she'll do whatever she needs to, and that's betray anyone that's on her side to get what she wants and has always wanted. I don't think there's anything that's going to stand in front of her, no matter how much she says she loves them or cares about them. I don't think there's anyone in Westeros that will stand in her way of her taking that throne, whether she has a legitimate claim to it or not. Also, a good little theory that I think is going to come up. They're planning on baiting the Night King to go after Bran. But what I think is happening, because we see the lineup in the end of the episode, and we don't see the Night King out of any of the Whites, any of the White Walkers. We don't see him on the horizon. We do see him in the preview for the next episode in a very small clip riding the dragon. But who's to say he's riding the dragon to Winterfell? There's this whole other arc with Cersei and the Golden Company. I'm almost willing to bet that the Night King's not even going to be there. He's going to fly his undead dragon straight to King's Landing around Winterfell, and he's going to take King's Landing. He's going to kill Cersei. He's going to melt the castle. That'll fulfill the image of winter coming to King's Landing, the snow coming down through the roof of the castle where the Iron Throne is housed, and the snow falling and the melted columns and the melted stone surrounding the throne that we saw in visions many seasons ago. And I think that'll be it. And then we'll come with all of our heroes in one place, pincered between the Night King's new army in the south and his existing army in the north. And because I really do not think this is going to wrap up with just they beat back the Night King in the north, and then the final 2-3 episodes will just be them versus Cersei and the Golden Company. That's quite anticlimactic. I feel like the Night King going south will be the way to get around that, get away from, like, because the Battle of Winterfell you would think is a big deal. It's their main huge battle with the dead. And that's in the 3rd episode. There's still 3 more episodes, even 3 really long episodes after this. So I don't think we're going to see the end of the Night King by any stretch of the imagination in Winterfell. Either they just lose and retreat south, and that gets them involved with Cersei and her armies, or the Night King is not there. Because if they kill the Night King, theoretically, the army will fall itself. They'll just crumble. All the whites he's turned will die, and all the White Walkers he's turned will die. So I don't think that won't happen in this episode. So I'm willing to bet. We'll see. I think he's going to not be there at all. And I think he's got his own plans at taking over and conquering Westeros. And that'll be a turn and excitement to see that'll stretch out throughout the arc of the remaining season. So, and that gets Cersei involved with the dead, and then who knows? We'll find out. Maybe she kills the Night King and takes his place. Maybe he turns her, and then they also have to battle the Night King and Queen, Cersei, and their undead army. I mean, she's already got an undead king's or queen's guard, so who knows? A lot of interesting things can happen, but this next episode is going to be huge. It's the longest episode of the season, and if this episode is any indicator, we are not going to have a lot of survivors. I guarantee we're going to lose a lot of the names that we have been following for a long time now. And yeah, that's all we can say. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this off here. Not much else to add to it. So I'm going to pass this off to you guys. Let me know what you all think down in the comments below. And let's speculate, theorize. What do you think is going to happen? What do you expect? What are your goals? What do you want to happen or result? Who do you not want to die? Who do you think is going to die? Give me all your gems down in the comments below. We'll have a conversation about what's going on and what will happen in the comments down below. And if you like this, make sure to check out my previous video on the first episode, and we'll be following this up each week. And yeah, that's it for today, guys. Thank you. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out my other videos, support the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care.